Raming, Simon, Nat. What's up? What's up? How's everyone doing today? Yeah, I wasn't even gonna come out today. I was just running some. I had a day off today, but I was running some errands here in San Bernardino, which is not too far from here. So I figured, you know, since I finished early running the errands, I'll just stop by, you know, for a couple hours, you know, before I head home. So here I am. So I'm assuming the students are in between classes right now because there is waves of students passing by. So hopefully we could get one at the start. That'll be cool, you know. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let me make sure I got all the slides ready and everything. Yeah, I'm gonna be focusing a little bit more on the apparent motion aspects of this topic, the true motion versus apparent motion. I feel like that it's a good way to introduce, you know, how the Earth is pushing up, you know, because obviously when objects fall, people think that they have true motion, right? But obviously it's only apparent, you know. It looks like they're falling because everything else is moving up. So objects in free fall only appear to fall. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on, and hopefully I'm able to like simplify it and concise it in a way where I can get my point across, you know, very easy, you know. I don't even know how to mute this. I'm not gonna be able to take this call. Ooh, there's a lot of students passing by. See if we could get one. You guys can do it together if you want. Yeah, do it all together. That way that nobody's singled out. It's 2 multiple choice questions, just to see if you guys are smarter than a 5th grade. All right. So here, I have 3 box trucks here. They're completely sealed. They're all on a level surface, and they all have an apple hanging from a string. The only difference between these 3 box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
At rest?
Yes. Yes. How did you guys know, B?
Some movies that's swinging.
Pretty easy. Pretty obvious. Okay, which one's accelerating forward?
A.
And how do you know A is accelerating forward?
Because it's going like this, like it's getting pulled back because of the acceleration forward.
Okay, yeah, exactly. It's due to inertia. But the apple's not swinging back, it's just being left behind.
Yeah.
And again, this is a smaller representation of that. Obviously, this represents the apple because it's hanging. Obviously, once it stops swinging and I accelerate, you're gonna get that swing. Okay. Obviously, you know. So all right, you got the first one, the second one, pretty similar, but instead of an apple, it's a helium balloon. That's the only difference. So out of these three, which one is at rest?
B, C.
B, yeah, for the same reason as the first, because it's not moving. Exactly. Which one's accelerating forward?
A.
A. Okay, look, I'm gonna give you guys a little cheat here. So this is a buoyant object, right? The helium balloon, so it floats. This is also a buoyant object because it's in water and it's floating because it's less dense, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So you guys can accelerate it if you want and see how the ball reacts. And based on that, you guys can make a decision after this.
I didn't see it.
Then you go this way? Yeah, C.
So which one would you guys say based on the demonstration? It's C? It is C. Yeah. So there is two reasons why it's C. The first reason, obviously, helium is less dense than air, right?
Okay.
So the second reason is a force. So when I applied a force with the truck and push in this direction, for example, all of the air that's inside of the truck is also being forced in that same direction to space. And because air is more dense than helium, is able to push it along with it. So the helium balloon reacts in the same direction as the force because it's buoyant. So this is also buoyant, which, you know, it reacts the same way. That's what buoyancy is. It's a chain reaction of a force. So this is the true, are you smarter than a fifth grader question. So I recreated this experiment inside of a cargo van, and I want to see if you guys can guess what direction I accelerated, to the right or to the left. Or is it motionless?
That's forward. This is the head of the truck, right?
Yeah, I mean, what direction would you say relative to the how the apple?
It's going forward. Yeah,
it's going this way, right?
Yeah,
exactly. You guys got it. So you guys are smarter than a fifth grader. So here, so obviously when we're inside the truck like this, like the camera was, we can see that there's two motions, right? The apple appears to swing in one way, and then the helium balloon moves in the opposite direction, right? Yeah. But in reality, only one of them has true motion, and the other one has apparent motion. So out of the helium balloon and the apple, which one has true motion?
The apple.
The apple.
You think the apple has true motion?
Yeah, because it's slow. But like the apple has inertia, so
it just remained in its position in space. Exactly. It only appears to move back because the camera is inside the container.
The truck's moving forward, but the apple's staying in this position.
Yes.
So it doesn't have.
So the apple, the air, and the truck have true motion. The apple is the only thing that doesn't have true motion. It only has apparent motion, right? So one last question before you guys go. If I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I let it go, what direction does it go?
Up.
Yeah, it goes up. Why do you guys think it goes up?
Because it's denser.
There's two reasons, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first reason. Air is more dense than helium, but you need a second reason. Why does a helium balloon go up? Not left, not right, not down. Why up? So the air's obviously pushing it, but why does the air push it up? Why not left, right, or down?
You're the engineering skill.
This has nothing to do with engineering.
I'm gonna give you a hint. It has to do with this experiment here.
Okay. So you said that, helium is less dense than air.
So you also require a force.
Is the force going up?
Yes. Yeah, so that air is pushing up the helium, right? So what's pushing up the air to be able to push up the helium? Because obviously the truck pushed the air to be able to push the helium. What's pushing the air here on Earth to be able to push up the helium? It is gravity. But gravity, I don't know if you guys knew, gravity as a pulling force is just a theory. So it has never been actually physically proven. So that's why. So the real force of the Earth is actually a push. So the Earth is actually pushing up against you. It's not pulling you down towards it. That's why we're stuck to it. Because the Earth is constantly moving up right now. So it's pushing up against us. So when you release an apple and it appears to go down, it only has apparent motion. Because it's the Earth, the air, and anything that's buoyant that's moving up.
So no, it doesn't have true motion.
So anything in free fall doesn't have true motion. It only has apparent motion because everything else is moving up to it. And that's why gravity as a pulling force is just a theory, because objects don't accelerate down to the Earth. In my opinion, they decelerate and the Earth catches up to it again. So when you jump, you don't come back down, the Earth just catches up to you again. So again, it's like the apple, we're denser than the air. So the air can't push you up like a helium balloon. So the Earth just catches up to you.
Would this be like relativity or something?
It's not relativity, it's actual physics. It's physics of motion, pretty much, and force. So relativity has to do with like the globe Earth, for example. You guys believe the Earth is a globe, right?
Yeah.
So let me show you this. So this is what this topic's all about. So you guys understand that on a ball, up is relative. Now we're going into relativity, right? So in other words, in every direction away from the center will be up. So if you're standing here, up is this way. If you're standing down here, up is it. Yeah. So if we could prove physically that gravity is not a pull of the Earth, and in fact is actually a push of the Earth, how can the Earth push up in every direction at the same time if it was a ball? How can the Earth push up or move up if it was a
And
ball?
at the same time,
At the same time, it has to be pushing up in every location on Earth.
I can't.
It would just expand. It would
Yeah,
explode. So it wouldn't work. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in gravity being a pulling force of the Earth. Because if we could prove that it's the other way around and it's actually pushing up against us, that would debunk the entire heliocentric model and the globe Earth concept. So that will be the number one proof to debunk the globe Earth, is the fact that gravity is a push of the Earth, not a pull. And physics shows that without a shadow of a doubt. So if I was to ask you guys respectfully, why do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
I feel like just because there's been so many studies and stuff done, like I have faith, not necessarily that I know.
But I'm glad
that
you
I've
used the
done
word
research,
faith, yeah.
But I have faith that the people before me who have done all the research and gone through the process, like I have faith in them.
Yeah. So no different than a religious person that has faith in their priest, that everything that they're telling them is no different, right?
Yeah.
So the heliocentric model, because it's just a model, it's not reality, it's the biggest religion on earth. Again, it's for the number one reason that it's based on faith. It's not based on practical physics. So practical physics, natural physics, which has to do with biology, chemistry, and physics, shows that the Earth is globe Earth is physically impossible.
So in your opinion, what do you believe?
The Earth is a level extended plane,
So
and
it's flat.
It's not flat because flat doesn't have orientation. So in order to have orientation, you require a force. So the Earth, again, it's a push, it's moving up, and it's level relative to it's perpendicular to the vertical force.
Okay.
So I know you guys heard of flat Earth, right?
Yeah.
So over 95% of flat earthers are basically, they're falling into another psyop. So most of the flat earthers online that you're going to see are claiming the Earth is motionless. So they deny the upwards push of the Earth. So they completely deny that Earth exerts a force. So they don't claim it's a pull or a push. They come up with their own cartoon physics to explain what's happening. But they actually believe that objects accelerate down too, just like the globe Earth. The fact is, the whole globe Earth versus flat Earth is just it's a false dichotomy. They're both wrong.
Okay.
So the fact is the Earth is level because it has orientation, because it has a force, it has motion. So it's pushing up against you. That's the reality.
I see
So,
where you're
so, I mean, why do you guys believe the Earth is a globe? Because I know you said, studies, but what studies, I would say?
Well, like I guess the main one, like in NASA's, like the photos or stuff.
Photos, okay. I do have pictures with me that I bring to show. Here, let me show you guys these real quick. I also have a flat Earth map, which is not true. It's just a false representation of the Earth, in my opinion. But it is level.
Okay.
I don't agree with the layout of the continents and the amount of land that's out there. There could be more land. So you said images, right?
Yeah.
Here, let me show you these. Here they are. So these are official NASA images from 2002 and 2012, and they admit that they don't take real photographs of the Earth from space. So everything they show us are composites. They're CGI, computer generated. So everything they're showing us from outer space is not real. Why do you guys think that?
Well,
What do you guys-
well, it could also be that the technicality of taking a picture from space would be very difficult.
Right.
Like because you would have to have a specific probe or something like that,
Sure.
like out far enough to take a picture of it. While the ISS is in space, it's not like far enough out to
Okay.
get a big enough picture.
Let me ask you
wide
this:
enough
do you
range.
believe they landed on the moon in 1972?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So you believe that image is real?
I believe that image is real.
Yeah. All right. So basically, everything that they're showing us again is fabricated, and physics shows that it's physically impossible. So if I showed you an image of me flying, would you believe I could fly?
No.
Or a video of me flying? No. Why wouldn't you believe me?
Just because nowadays there is more technology, more resources, more tools to create something like that could be faked.
Yeah. The simple answer I would say it defies physics. So it doesn't matter what video, how good it looks. If you're showing me a video of you flying, that defies physics. That's physically impossible. So it's just like if you show me a video of walking through walls. I know it's some kind of magic trick or some kind of trick to try and trick my perception, because physically that's physically impossible. Two pieces of matter cannot occupy the same space at the same time. That defies physics, right? That's why you can't walk through walls. So again, the globe Earth defies physics. Now, before you guys go real quick, this is the number one proof, by the way, the fact that gravity is a push, not a pull. This is the number two proof that debunks the globe. Do you guys know the radius of the Earth they tell us?
No.
So it's 3,959 miles. That's what they claim the Earth is, because they supposedly have satellites orbiting the Earth. So they need to give us these numbers, right? Because they're supposedly doing it. So based on the radius of the Earth, we can use the calculation like Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, to calculate for how much curvature there should be every mile. And it turns out there should be 8 inches per mile squared, which means in the first mile there's an 8-inch drop, second mile 32 inches, and by the third mile there should be 6 feet of measurable curvature. And in 10 miles there should be 66 feet, which is like a 6-story building. So how do we measure for that curve, right? To see if it's actually there. It's very easy. We go to a giant lake that's 3 miles across at least, and build a perfectly level structure above the body of water. once the water's containing at rest, it's going to show that it's going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it, because that's the physics of water when containing at rest. The water takes the shape of the container, but the surface always equalizes. It forms a level surface. They're trying to tell us that the surface of water is bending 8 inches per mile square, which is a physical impossibility for water to do that, especially on a lake with a standing body of water. So the physics of water will be the number 2 proof to debunk this claim of curvature that they claim the Earth has, but in reality it doesn't. And again, the physics of water will show there is no measurable curve.
Okay.
So that's why the term sea level comes from. Sea is ocean, level is horizontal. So the oceans are horizontal. They're not curving around the ball. So this is a number 2 proof that debunks the globe, is the physics of water. So I mean, let me give you my channel. I have conversations with physics professors, astrophysicists, and I go to other universities as well. You guys can take this. I have a bunch.
I'll just take it.
Yeah, here, you guys can have one too.
Thank you.
You guys can share it, and I appreciate the chat.
Thank you.
All right, you guys take care.
All
You
right,
too.
you take care.
All right, man. So I gotta have these pictures a little bit more handy, but no, yeah, they're in between classes for sure, so don't want to keep them too long. Huh? Short and sweet, to the point. I felt like me highlighting the fact that the Apple has apparent motion in the truck before saying that it has apparent motion here on Earth. I feel like it kind of clicks a little bit better, because now they have a practical example of apparent motion, right? Not only that, they have an example of apparent motion and true motion at the same time, moving in opposite directions, which is exactly what we experience here on Earth. Is a free-falling object has apparent motion, and then a buoyant object has true motion. So we get 2 motions, right? It looks like we have 2 motions, right? One up and one down, but the fact is they're only up. Objects falling down are not necessarily moving down. They're just being left behind because it's not being sustained by something solid anymore. So the Earth just simply catches up again. Again, the air that's in between that free-falling object and the Earth is not dense enough to push the dense object up, so the object just gets left behind due to inertia. So objects fall due to inertia, and because the Earth is moving up to it as well, obviously. Because if the Earth wasn't pushing up, then when you release something, it would just stay floating, right? Everything would just be floating. There will be no force, at play to give you orientation or a up and a down, because that's what gives us our up. It's the direction of force. And the opposite of up will be down. So the opposite of the direction of the force will be down. The globe Earth flipped the script. The force is down, and the opposite of that will be up. So the opposite of the force is up. Like what? The opposite of the force is down. That's the reality, right? So all they did was just flip the script. And yeah, it just takes a few celebrities, right, and experts with lab coats to say it with confidence, and that's all it takes, right? Right, and a little image on a screen, right? A globe Earth image, right? And that's all it takes, sadly, right? I guess, that's where technology, people need to find, well, that's the thing, understanding how physics behaves. You should never be able to get fooled by CGI or AI, right? If there's a claim by, then they're showing you CGI or AI, and then it clearly defies physics, what they're showing you clearly defies physics, I don't give a fuck how good the video looks, and how many people were witness, right? I don't give a fuck if there's 1,000 people witness to this video and are claiming to see that it happened in real life, and I don't know what the fuck. If it's defying physics, I'm gonna go with what I know, that it's bullshit. I don't give a fuck how many people are claiming it's true. I don't give a fuck, about any of that. If it defies physics, I need to see it personally, or it's bullshit. It's that simple, I'm not gonna be swayed by consensus and peer reviewed and all this bullshit, right? Make the claim, show your demonstration, and that's where we go from, I'm not gonna be swayed again by fucking peer reviewed and consensus bullshit, That's just not how it's gonna work. So if you're those kind of people that get swayed by these things, then you need a lot of catching up to do. So that's that. So yeah, I feel like this highlighting the apparent motion versus true motion aspects of this subject is just like, I think it's gonna get into the root of of people's beliefs, right? That's what it's about. It's about dismantling people's beliefs from the root. You know, you don't want to start with little conspiracies that are just like dancing around the subject, right? Oh, hi. Yeah, definitely. That's why I'm here. All right, 2 very easy questions. So,
I don't know about that.
yeah, the first one, I have 3 box trucks. They're all completely sealed. They're all on a level surface, and they all have an apple hanging from a string. The only difference between these 3 trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
I feel like it's the obvious answer, but I'm scared to say that.
No, well, that's it's a very easy question. Yeah, which one's at rest? A, B, or C? Yeah, B. Why would you say B?
It's not moving at all.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty easy. Which one's accelerating forward?
Forward would be.
Do you agree?
You figure it out. I'm not-
Oh,
Yeah,
it
you
would be A.
agree? It is A. Yeah. Why is it A? How do you know it's A?
For example, let's say we're going like, all right, I'm gonna say this. I drove a Reynolds like Chevy Camaro.
Yeah.
I pressed the gas hard and I went back with it.
Yeah.
So you already know if they stop that, the ball's gonna go back because it's going forward.
Yes, exactly. And look, this represents an apple because obviously it's swinging, it's hanging. If I accelerate this way, the ball swings back. It gets left behind.
Yeah.
You know, pretty good. And it's due to inertia. You know, so that's the first one. So the second one, pretty similar, but instead of an apple, it's a helium balloon. So out of these 3, which one is at rest? Yeah, B, and it's for the same reason as the first.
Yeah.
Which one's accelerating forward?
It'd be the same thing.
You think A? Here, I'll give you guys a little cheat here. So this is a buoyant object, right?
Yeah.
It floats. So this is also a buoyant object. So this will represent this experiment just on a smaller scale. You can accelerate it and see how the ball reacts, and then you can make a decision after that if you want. Yeah. Okay, so now, which one is accelerating forward? A, B, or C? It is C. So there is 2 reasons why it's C. So the first reason is air is more dense than helium. The second reason is a force. So when I apply a force in this direction, again, because the truck's completely sealed, all of the air that's trapped inside as well is also being forced in that same direction through space. And because air is more dense than helium, is able to push it along with it. So basically a helium or a buoyant object will always get pushed in the same direction as the force. You know, and I can show that here. So this will be the main question. Oh yeah, I had a 6th grader on camera answer them correctly. So definitely.
Hey, bro, that's
Yeah.
bad.
So here, so see if you're really smarter than a 5th grader. What direction did it accelerate? To the right, to the left, or is it at rest?
So
Yeah, it went, yeah. Wait, yeah, it's going forward because the apple went back. No, going forward, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So if you're inside the container like this, like the camera was,
It would go back.
it looks like there's 2 motions. Like the apple goes in one way and the helium balloon goes another way, right? But in reality, only one has true motion and the other one has apparent motion. So what has true motion? The helium? Yes, the balloon has true motion. Because the apple only appears to swing back because it's being left behind. You know, so only appears to move back. So again, the truck, the air, and the helium have true motion, and the apple doesn't have true motion. Has apparent motion. Oh, you got it. Perfect. So one last question before you guys go. If I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go? Yes, there's 2 reasons why it goes up. Why do you guys think it goes up?
Because of helium?
Yes, but why does it go up? There's 2 reasons why it goes up. It is helium, yes, and everybody knows helium goes up.
Yeah.
But why does it go up? What's the cause? There's 2 causes.
I mean, I know this I'm done, but let's go for it. So is it like helium, lighter than oxygen?
Yes, that's the first reason. What's the second reason?
Second reason is gonna be, I want to say something with gravitational pull.
Yes, well, it has to do with force.
With force.
So, yeah, so it does require a push. So the air has to push the helium balloon in order for the helium balloon to move. So here, the truck pushed the air, and then the air pushed the helium. What's pushing the air up to be able to push up the helium here on Earth?
The water?
No. So the fact is, it is gravity, but again, gravity is a push of the Earth, not a pull. So I know everybody believes that gravity is a pulling force of the Earth, and
Yeah,
it
but
pulls.
it's pushing down.
No. The reality is the Earth is not pulling you down towards it. The Earth is literally pushing up against you. So the ground is literally moving up through space, and it's not pulling you down towards it. So that's the reality. So when I release an object into free fall, like an apple, for example, and it falls, it has apparent motion. It doesn't have true motion. So the fact is, when a helium balloon has true motion because it's being pushed up by the air, and the Earth is also moving up. So I don't know if you guys knew, gravity is just a theory as a pulling force. It has never been proven. because it has never been detected. Because the reality is not the Earth is not pulling you, it's pushing you. That's the reality. So when something appears to fall in free fall, again, the object doesn't move down to the Earth. It's the Earth moving up against you. So that's the reality. So yeah, so here's the thing. This is the real reason why I'm doing this. You guys believe the Earth is a ball, right?
Yes.
You guys understand that on a ball, up is relative, right? So if you're standing here, up is this way for you, but if you're standing down here, up is in the opposite direction. Every direction away from the center is up. If we could prove physically that the Earth is pushing and not pulling you towards it, how can the Earth push up in every direction if it was a ball?
You tell me the 6th grade answer this right?
No, well, this is already getting. This is already getting.
I'll make sure.
No. This is already getting into more complex. So how can the Earth push up in every direction if it was a ball? Yeah, fair enough. It would just be expanding. You would have to be expanding to be able to push up, right? It would just explode, so it wouldn't work. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the theory of gravity being a pulling force. Because if we could prove that it's actually a pushing force of the Earth, then the whole globe Earth concept falls apart. So the number one proof to debunk the globe Earth is the fact that gravity is a push of the Earth, not a pull. So what does that mean? That means the Earth is just an extended level plane and is pushing up in one direction. So everybody's up is the same. So up is not relative, it's singular. So everybody's up is the same. So it's not global. It's just an extended level plane that goes across the way. It doesn't bend down to your feet. That's physically impossible. So if I was to ask you guys respectfully, why do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
I guess it's just what we've always been taught. And
Fair enough. You guys should check this out. Give it a read.
And I mean, looking at the other planets, they look spherical.
Fair enough. So you say images from outer space will convince you. So these are images that I have from NASA from 2002 and 2012. And they admit that they don't take real photographs of the Earth from space. They admit they're all CGI, computer-generated images. So again, all of these space agencies, the Europeans, the Chinese, even the Indians have a space program now, which is laughable. If you look at their graphics, it looks all fake. But again, everything they're showing us from outer space is all CGI. It's not real. Not real. So, I mean, is there anything that convinces you other than just being told that that's what it is?
No, I think it was just honestly, since we obviously now we can go to space.
Exactly. They take advantage of that fact.
So they're just gonna tell us. And
Yeah, no worries.
Believe
Take
them.
it.
You only believe them 'cause
Yeah, you only
gotta
believe
know the
them.
truth. I can't go to space right now. I can't make up one of these rockets.
Yeah, but guess what? If the Earth was a globe, there has to have curvature, right?
Yeah.
We should be able to physically measure that curvature, right? There's an experiment we can do to prove that there is no curvature. So this will be the number 2 experiment. Do you guys know the radius of the Earth? No. So the radius of the Earth is the distance from the center to the outer circumference. This distance, they tell us is 3,959 miles. So based on the radius, we can calculate for how much curvature there should be using a calculation like a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Yeah. So using that calculation, there should be 8 inches per mile square of curvature, which means in the first mile, there's 8 inches of drop, second mile, 32 inches, and by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of measurable curvature. So how do we measure for that curve, right? Very easy. If we went out to a giant lake filled with water that was 3 miles across, and we build a level structure above it, the water is going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it because that's how water behaves when contained and at rest. The water takes the shape of the container, but the surface always equalizes and forms a level surface, which is horizontal. They're trying to tell us that water is bending 8 inches per mile squared, which is a physical impossibility. So they want to make you believe that if you're standing on a lake that's 10 miles across, that there's going to be a 66-foot curve on the surface of that lake, which is a physical impossibility for water to do that. So the oceans are no different. That's why the term sea level comes from. The oceans are horizontal. Yes, level. So the Earth is just a level plane, based on physics. Everything that has to do with physics shows that the Earth is a level plane that's pushing up. Because motion, flat Earth, you guys heard of flat Earth, right? So over 95% of flat Earthers are claiming the Earth is motionless. So that's bullshit. That's no different than the globe Earth. They believe in objects accelerating down to the Earth too. They believe in a pulling force too, but the fact is, it's a push of the Earth. That's the reality. So this whole globe Earth versus flat Earth on the internet, it's all bullshit. It's just a distraction from the true facts, which is that's pushing up. It's a plane that's pushing up, and nobody's been to outer space. As a whole, so nobody has a God's eye view of the Earth. That's why I don't buy into any model of what the Earth looks like. All I know that it is a level plane, because the globe Earth is physically impossible. I don't know the layout of the continents. I don't know how far the Earth extends. All I know that it's a level plane pushing up, and it has to be a contained system as well. Because they claim to go to outer space, right? It's a negative pressure system next to the Earth's pressure system. But in order to maintain 2 opposing pressure systems next to each other, you need a solid barrier to separate the 2. So the Earth has air pressure, right? We have air pressure here. That means the Earth is being physically contained somehow. So nobody's been outside of the Earth to be able to see it as a whole. They claim to do that, but that's just bullshit. You know, that defies physics. Claiming to go into outer space where there's no pressure, right next to pressure, with no solid barrier between. That's just retarded. You know, I hate to break it to you.
Wait, so no one's been
to outer
Really?
space. Nope. So when they shoot rockets, and pay attention, when they shoot rockets up, they start to curve right away, and that's because they come back down to Earth. And then they switch to CGI, and then they claim to that they're going to outer space. So it's all camera trickery. You know, all this idea about going to outer space. Pay attention to all the videos from outer space. It's all cartoons, all CGI, all bullshit. You know, and they're not afraid to admit it. It's just that people they just believe everything they're told.
All those videos you watch in elementary school where they're showing like they're on the aircraft and there's like no gravity and everything. That's not really what.
Yes, 100%. So have you guys heard of zero-G planes?
Yeah, I have seen those before.
Yeah, so you can do a free fall maneuver
and then you start to literally float. Yeah.
So you have about a minute or so, you know, of that effect, or 30 seconds to a minute depending, and they get a lot of footage like that. Not only that, they get a lot of footage using augmented reality, blue screens, and green screens. You guys know what augmented reality is? Yeah. So they use a lot of that to make things that are, that are floating supposedly and stuff. So there's a lot of camera trickery. It's just like a magician.
Yeah.
Just trying to make you think that the impossible is possible, but it's not. So there's just a magic trick on the population. So let me ask you guys this. Is it possible that we have been lied to at a mass scale about the nature of the Earth, or are you guys 100% convinced that it is a ball?
I wouldn't be surprised after being nipped out. Like, I'm not going too deep, but the files, they're with that.
Oh, yeah.
Always hiding shit. Show you how it is. I wouldn't be surprised if there's another
If
lie.
this was, yeah.
But
Yeah.
Day, I mean,
It just sucks because, I mean, we're so, like, concrete that it was a globe. It's just hard to switch your beliefs.
Yeah.
You know?
So the whole globe Earth concept started from a false premise, which is the fact that people believe that gravity is a pull.
Yeah.
Again, the whole globe Earth relies on that pulling force, because that's how they explain orbits. That's how they explain, the Earth spinning, and that's how they explain water bending around a ball because it's pulling it to the. So again, if we debunk gravity as a pulling force, which physics clearly shows, then the whole globe Earth falls apart. So that's the false premise that the globe Earth starts from. So everything that they build off of that is just wrong. So any questions before you guys go?
No.
Oh,
I think I'm good.
yeah, definitely. So here's my channel. Are you guys together? Or?
Yeah.
So you guys can take a look at this. You guys can take it with you. And in there are the 6 top proofs that debunk the globe Earth, on top of the number 1, which is that gravity is a push, not a pull. So you guys can give that a read. And my channel's in the front there. You guys can give it. Yeah, the QR code. Yeah. All right, appreciate it. Thanks for the chat. All right, you guys take care. You guys want to give this a shot?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Let's do it. All right, so we'll start with the first one. This is the second one. We'll start with the first one. Here we go. Very easy. So 3 box trucks. They're completely sealed. They're all on a level surface, and they all have an apple hanging from a string. Okay. The only difference between these 3 box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
It has to be. I can't choose B, man. That seems too easy.
I mean, you're smarter than a 5th grader.
Wait, so
Don't overthink it.
I'm not sure.
Don't
Can you
overthink
reset
it.
the question? I'm so
So-
sorry. I was lucky spacing out.
No worries, it happens. So, okay, 3 box trucks, completely sealed. They're all on a level surface. They all have an apple hanging from a string, obviously. The only difference between these 3, one is at rest, in other words, it's not moving. One is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So can you tell which one's which? Which one's at rest?
Well,
I'm gonna say B.
I want to say this one's at rest.
Yeah, you're right. Why would
go.
you say B, though?
Because
It's not really going anywhere.
It's not moving. It's that simple. The string's vertical.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty simple. Okay, which one's accelerating forward?
I assume A.
How do you guys know A?
When you're moving it, when you're accelerating, things tend to move backwards a little bit.
Sure, due to inertia, you could say.
due
So
to inertia, yeah.
So it gets left behind. The apple gets left behind.
yeah.
So look, this orange ball represents an apple because it's hanging, just like the apple.
Okay.
Right? If I accelerate, it gets left behind. Right?
Yeah.
Pretty simple, right? Pretty simple physics. So, the second one's
Thank
a little bit.
God, thank God.
It's pretty similar, but instead of an apple, it's a helium balloon. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
I've done this experiment before, I think, but this one's at rest.
Yes, for the same reason as the first.
And this
Which one's accelerating
this
forward?
One's accelerating. This one's.
This one's accelerating forward? How did you know?
I just know I've done this experiment before.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's this one, but I can't explain exactly why. I think it's,
Okay, fair enough.
I think it's due to that helium property.
No, definitely. It does have to do with buoyancy.
Yeah.
So it is a buoyant. So again, this is a buoyant object, no different than
The
this.
buoyancy.
Yeah. So again, it's floating in water because the water is more dense than this. So if I accelerate this one, it goes forward. So there is two reasons why that happens. So the first reason is obviously air is more dense than helium. Second reason is a force.
Oh, yeah.
So when I apply a force in this direction, all of the air that's inside of the truck is also being forced in that same direction through space, and because air is more dense than helium, is able to push it along with it. So the helium will react in the same direction as the applied force because it's going to get pushed with the air. Right? The apple, on the other hand, is not. The air's not dense enough to push the apple, so the apple just gets left behind. You know, pretty easy. So here, this is the true "Are you smarter than a fifth grader?" question. So I did that experiment in a cargo van. So what direction did I accelerate? Right, left, or is it at rest?
Right, I guess.
Yeah, this way, right? Yeah, you guys got it. Perfect. Yeah. So obviously it looks like the apple moved and it looks like the helium moved. It looks like they both moved, right? But in reality, only one of those two has true motion and the other one has apparent motion. Which one has true motion? The helium or the apple?
Which one has true motion?
Which one has true motion? You think the apple has true motion?
Yeah, that's my guess.
Like which one's actually moving through space?
I mean, technically both of them.
No, they're not. The helium balloon is moving through space. The apple's being left behind. So if you had a camera outside of the apple, and
I see that.
If the van was see-through and you were outside of the van, the apple is just going to stay in the same position until the truck, until the string pulls it with it. But the apple only appears to swing because it's being left behind. So the apple has apparent motion and the helium has true motion. So yeah. So the last question before you guys go: if I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go?
That's just going up.
Yeah, helium goes up. Why do you guys think helium goes up?
Less dense and
Yes, it's less dense than air. There's another reason why though. Because why doesn't the air push it left or right or down? Why does air push the helium up? Because it is more dense, I agree. But why up? Why not left? Why not right?
This has to do with the forces, no?
Yeah, because it has to do with the force of the earth. So here, yes, yeah. So here's the thing, with this experiment, the truck generated the force to push the air to be able to push the helium in the same direction. What's generating the force here on Earth to be able to push up the air to be able to push up the helium? So what's happening physically to be able to push up the air to be able to push up the helium?
Well, isn't there the force being on the walls of the balloon? So you have, like, basically, you account for the mass of air and then the mass of gravity. And so when you said like sum of forces in the vertical direction, you just have a positive force going up.
Well, what's pushing up the air to be able to push up the helium? Would you agree that it's the air pushing up the helium, or not? Or is the helium rising on its own?
Pretty sure it has to do with the difference in
Densities. Difference in densities too.
Oh, difference in density.
Yeah, between the air is more dense than helium. Because if you have a vacuum and you put a helium balloon in there, what's going to happen? It's not going to go up. It's going to go down because there's no air to push it up. So the air is literally pushing up a helium balloon. So my question is, what's pushing up the air to push up the helium? The answer is the Earth. So the Earth is not pulling you down towards it; it's pushing up against it. So it's literally moving up in space. So I don't know if you guys knew, gravity as a pulling force is just a theory. So it's never been proven or physically measured. So it's just an idea. So the fact is, when you release an object into free fall, everyone thinks that it accelerates down to the Earth, right? But the fact is, it only appears to go down because the true force is up. So helium balloon rising is being pushed up by the air, which is also being pushed up by the Earth. So the Earth itself is moving up through space, and anything that's not connected to the Earth, it only has apparent motion. So objects in free fall only have apparent motion, and helium balloons and everything else has true motion. And that's why gravity as a pulling force will never be proven because it's not real. The fact is, it's the other way around. It's when you release an object, this doesn't move down to the Earth, it's the Earth that moves up to the object. And that's what physics shows. That's why buoyant objects go up, because the true force is up. So that's the reality. So what does that mean, right? So this is the real reason why I'm doing this. You guys believe the Earth is a ball, right? You guys understand that on a ball, up is relative. So if you're standing here, up is this way, but if you're standing down here, up is in the opposite direction, in every direction away from the center. If we could prove that gravity is actually a push of the Earth and not a pull, and physics shows us that, how can the Earth push up in every direction at the same time if it was a ball? How can you move a ball up in every direction?
just expand.
Yes, it will expand, it would explode, it wouldn't work. So in order for people to believe in the ball earth theory, they first have to believe in gravity being a pulling force. Because if we could prove that it's the other way around, then the whole globe earth concept falls apart. That will be the number one proof to debunk the globe earth, is the fact that gravity is a push of the earth, not a pull. So the fact is, the earth is just an extended level plane that's pushing up in one direction. So everybody's up is the same. It's not relative on a ball. So we all live on a plane, not a ball. That's the reality. So if I was to ask you guys respectfully, why do you guys believe the earth is a ball?
You know what? I got a lot to do right now.
No worries.
So I'm gonna do that.
All right, no worries. I know this is a lot to think about, you know.
Yeah.
So, but again, if you guys have any other questions, I'll give you guys my channel. And I go to other universities. I debate with. Well, I don't even debate. I just have conversations with physics professors because this is not up for debate. You know, reality is what it is. It's not going to change. So I have conversations about this all the time at different universities. So you guys can give it a look.
All right.
Man.
I got you.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
You have a great day.
Yeah, you guys take care. Appreciate the chat.
Thank you.
All right, man. Take care. No, yeah, it was a little much. I get it. It's like when your head's just not in it. It's like goes in one ear and comes out the other, right? It's like, you know, it is what it is. And that's why I record these videos as well, is to keep a record, I guess, and just people can go back to these videos and go over them just to see what they said, to see if they agree with what they said, right? It's a good way to learn as well. You know, I even go back to them to learn from them as well, you know. So I learned from doing this. You learn from practice, you know, putting it out there, you know, having the conversation and knowing what works and what doesn't is by putting it to practice, you know. If you never put it to practice, then you're never really gonna progress, you know what I'm saying? Like if you don't do anything, how's anything gonna move? If you're not moving, then nothing's gonna move, right? Right? At least in your favor, or the things that you want that, you know, to get done, right? So yeah. No, yeah, I feel like I'm getting to the point a little bit better with this whole apparent motion and true motion, because people want an explanation. Well, why do things fall then? Why do, you know, if you skip that part, it's like, well, why do things fall then? Why do, you know? Because it has apparent motion, because everything else is moving. That's why, you know. So I feel like I am getting my point across like this a little bit better, so just gotta build off of this now, you know. I think it's pretty cool. So let me see if there's any comments, any questions that are worth answering. Let me see. Oh, and then like giving them a little cheat by letting them play with this, I guess, accelerate it before answering the second question. I feel like it gives people a little bit more confidence. Not only that, because you're actually doing it yourself, it's like ingrained in you now, right? Because you learned it, you did it, you came up with the conclusion or the answer based on the practical, right? It's not just me telling you, right? I let you come to that conclusion by letting you do the test for yourself, and then you know, give an answer based on the results of the practical test, right? I feel like getting people involved like that, it's way better, right? Because it's like I feel like they learn better like that. You know, they'll understand it better, but you know, because now they're physically, you know, not only observing it but doing the experiment themselves, you know. So adding that with the apparent and true motion and the difference between the two, I'm noticing that it is working, you know, better than before, if anything. So, all right, let me see if there's any comments. Alrighty, Terry, Bates Truther, Pie-Eyed, Iwan, Tina, They Live, Selenelian, and everyone else watching. What's up? Yeah, let me see if there's any questions, anything relevant. Let me see. Yeah. Simon, I've noticed AI has a problem with physics in its videos. People moving in a way that's not fit what we see in real life. The physics of it all is off. No, yeah, that's one of the main things with these AI videos. That physically, a lot of things don't make sense, right? And that's how a lot of people are able to catch that they're AI, right? But let's say AI gets to a point where they're able to mimic the physics, you know, because it could get there. You could get to a point where, you know, all the physics in the video makes sense, right? But it's still an AI generated video. We won't be able to tell, is my point. If there are no cues or things that show you that, okay, that defies physics, then you won't be able to tell if it's real or not. Because those are the little cues that we're able to pick out right now, is things that defy physics. And that's why the globe Earth will never get away with their bullshit, because any claims that they make about the globe Earth automatically defies physics. So any video that they try to push, any picture, anything that they try to push a globe Earth obviously defies physics, therefore it becomes bullshit. But again, these AI videos, if there's nothing that defies physics in them, it's gonna get really hard to tell if they're real or not, you know. So that is a good point though. I think it should be made, but yeah. One man, trees are like an accelerometer. Their branches bend in the same way, showing that there is a force present. Yeah, that's true. That is true, especially when a branch breaks. Like the branch didn't break itself. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what motionless flat earthers will have to think, right? Because weight is force, right? So a tree has weight, so their own force, so the tree broke itself, right? So the tree breaks itself apparently when a tree branch breaks. Motionless flat earthers have to believe that the branches are breaking themselves. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? That obviously shows that there's an external force, an external cause to that, because a tree cannot break its own branches. Let's be real, man. Like, come on. So yeah, definitely tree branches 100% show, especially when they break, that there's a force present. Without a shadow of a doubt. We should take studies with a grain of salt. Exactly. Any claim that anybody makes about the physical reality that we all share, by the way, should be taken with a grain of salt, should be scrutinized 100%. Should be questioned, and yeah, don't accept anything blindly. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not good. I want the earth is not moving up, William. It's stationary. I want what sources do you have to claim the earth is motionless? Like, what practical demonstrations do you have to be able to claim that? Are you able to manipulate the vector and change it in a different direction based on what your claim is the cause of it? Like, what's the cause of the vector here, the vertical vector that we witness, right? Objects rise and fall, right? We have a vertical vector, right? The globe Earth obviously claims that it's a downward force, right? Reality shows that it's an upward force, right? They're both vertical in that sense. On a motionless flat Earth, what's causing this vertical vector that we experience here on Earth, right? Is it electrostatics, right? And if it's electrostatics, can you manipulate the vector using electrostatics? Can you change the vector using electrostatics? I can clearly change the vector using force of a contained system, you know. So you need a contained system and not use force, but use electrostatics to give us the vertical, or to reorientate our vertical force here on Earth. You need an experiment to recreate these conditions in another vector to even be taken serious, you know. So what's the root of your belief of the Earth being motionless, right? That's what it comes down to. why do you believe the Earth is motionless? You know? Stationary has no orientation. The Earth is moving upwards and motionless. So the Earth is moving up. The mass of gravity, I know I did hear him say that. The mass of gravity. I mean, technically, if gravity was true, a pulling force of gravity was true, then technically it should have some kind of mass, right? Because force is mass in motion, right? That's what force is. The literal definition of force is matter in motion, a vector. You need magnitude that's in motion in a particular direction, right? So technically, gravity should have mass if it was real, right? But it's obviously not. There's nothing there. There's no motion because there's nothing there to move. So that's why it's just bullshit, you know. The mass is the literal Earth itself. The mass of the Earth itself is literally what's moving. That is the literal force. It's the motion of the Earth itself pushing up against your feet. That's the force of the Earth. There's no pulling imaginary flow of something, right? And when it reaches the center, where does that flow go? It just crashes, like, and it just stays there. It just keeps accumulating in the center. This flow of whatever it is that's moving matter, it just flows to the center and it just keeps accumulating, like, to infinity. It's just an infinite. There's like a black hole at the center of the Earth where all this flow just vanishes and it just keeps coming infinitely. This flow just keeps coming infinitely. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's crazy. Agent Smith. I got stuff to do. Like, ignore this. Fair enough, Andrew. I know. Like, right when I asked him, why do you guys believe the Earth is a globe? that was kind of gold. I gotta go. Before I answer that, I gotta go. I mean, it's cool, nothing personal. It's a little funny though. And it's not an attack, you know. Don't take it personal. Some people get it more immediately than others. Yep. That is true. That is true. They live exactly where you let them answer, and they can see what they think. They know it does. They know it doesn't make sense. Yep. You presented extremely well, William. Thanks, Simon. Appreciate that. Yes, through tangible interaction with the material, let them build their bridge to the logical conclusion. Exactly. Yeah, good to hear you're recovering, Andrew. I know I heard about your accident. You know, it's unfortunate that you had to go through that. You know, it sucks. You know, I'm assuming the recovering process. You know, all of that. But you know, stay strong and yeah, hope you come back 100%, 110%, huh? If anything. See how much time do we have? Almost an hour? Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it under 2 hours today, hopefully, you know, because obviously sometimes I get a last minute conversation that goes an hour long, right? Hopefully I don't get that. I'm not really trying to stay out here too long. It is my day off today. And I was just supposed to relax today, but again, I was in the area running some errands. I finished them early and yeah, figured I'd stop by. Why not, huh? So this whole subject from the start, like this whole flat earth, right? Since 2015, since it started, it focused mainly, I've noticed, on visual proofs, right? For example, boats disappearing to go over the curve, right? That was apparently a proof, right? But again, it's just based on optics. It's just based on a visual of what you're seeing, right? It's not based on physics, right? What else? Oh, measuring angles to Polaris, right? So you're just by looking and then measuring angles, right? At Polaris, again, just apparent proofs, visual proofs, which are not physical proofs, which are not real proofs, right? What else do we got? Oh, I release this object and it appears to go down. So visually, it accelerates down. So now we're gonna create values and attach them to that object in free fall that it's accelerating down, right? So these are the motionless flat earthers as well, no different than globe earthers. So again, all of these proofs, like the main proofs that flat earthers push, especially from the start of this whole thing in the internet, it was just focused on visual proofs, right? Visual proofs that are not real proofs, right? And the same channels that are pushing that from the start are still pushing that today. 10 years later, they're still pushing that bullshit. Like, what does that tell you? What does that show? Like, that shows that these people are not interested in truth. They're not interested in what reality actually has to show. You know what they're interested in? They're interested in keeping this whole thing just from not going anywhere. This whole thing just keeping it a shit show. This whole globe earth versus flat earth. They just want to keep it suppressed. By making people believe that looking at stuff is proof of something. Vision alone is proof of something. They have people believing that vision alone can prove the physical. Like, come on. Like, that's literally how they have people chasing their tails. If you don't comprehend, that these proofs are not real proofs, then you're not thinking. You're not thinking right. You need to take a few steps back, wind your neck in, and go back to square one. Understand how matter behaves under certain conditions. Understand that vision alone is not proof of anything. If vision alone was proof of something, then a magician making a rabbit disappear is real. He physically somehow sent the bunny into another dimension, right? Because it disappeared from existence, right? And he made it appear in another hat over there. He made it materialize somehow from another dimension back into this reality, right? Is that what we're going with now? Because your vision can be fooled to believe that. A child can be fooled to believe that using vision alone, right? But practically, physically, we know that's impossible. So those are the kind of proofs that most flat earthers are just stuck in. They're stuck in a magician's trick, and they don't even realize it's a trick. So if that's not brainwashing or a form of brainwashing, like I don't know what is. If you actually believe that, right? So again, this whole apparent, like visual proofs bullshit that's been going around needs to be called out for what it is. And what is it? It's nothing. It's not a proof of anything. Simply looking at something and coming to a conclusion based on just what you're seeing is not a proof of anything. If anything, you can make that observation fit a bunch of different models. If you have a bias towards a model, you can make almost any observation fit that model with explanations and things that defy physics, right? You can make any model fit an observation. But that's not what this topic's about. This topic is about what's actually real, what can actually be proven physically, without a shadow of a doubt, what's measurable, what's testable, and what's repeatable. That's what this is about. It's not about your opinions. It's not about what you believe you're seeing. It's about what can be proven physically. That's what it's about.
Yo, you were the one that made us start doing this.
I see a boat, I seen a mountain, I seen an island, I see a lighthouse, I seen a light in the sky, I seen the two big lights in the sky cross each other, blah, blah, blah. Nice one, Andrew. That's pretty much the summary of it. Like, there's no logic behind that. There's no reason other than trying to defend your personal beliefs. You know, that's what it basically shows, you know. Exactly, they live. When you understand how the magician does his tricks, they no longer work. Exactly, that's a pretty good way to put it. So it's about, again, it's understanding the trick. Once you understand, but here's the thing though, even if you don't understand the trick with the magician, it's still sometimes fascinating because it's like, holy shit, how did you do that? How did you do that? That impresses me when I don't know the trick of the magician, but obviously I still know it is a trick. I'm more intrigued on how you did it. Not that, oh my God, you defied physics, you must be God, you're Jesus, right? Or whatever. Like, no, that's retarded. I'm impressed on how you pulled it off. Like, how did you set up the trick like that? You know, some people have quick, you know, sleight of hand, you know, especially when it comes to cards. Like, you know, I'm fascinated by that, by magic tricks. Not because I believe them, but because the steps behind it, right? The methods of tricking your perception, because that's what it's all about. It's about tricking your perception, and I think it's fun. I think it's entertaining, definitely. You know, it's when it gets into the realms of physics, and then you're claiming it's true, and then they're taking advantage of that. That is a whole nother topic right there. That's a whole nother realm. You know, from magicians for entertainment and magicians towards a lifestyle. You know, it's a huge difference, you know, between the two, but it's the same tricks. Fooling your perception. That's what it's about. It's about fooling the onlooker. You know. I've met many people who say that magic really does exist. Like, I don't even know what to say to that. Like how do I, like, I mean, if you believe that, like, why do you believe that, right? If magic was real, then it should be evident by now. With all the cameras everywhere, with everyone having a camera in their pocket, with the internet connecting everyone, like, if magic was real, why isn't it evident? Right? But yeah, people have to come with, you know, people have to come to their own conclusions based on what they know. That's what it comes down to. You guys want to give it a shot? Nah? No worries, man. I mean, if you admit that you're not smarter than a fifth grader, like, what are you doing here at a university, right? I would think at least you think you're smarter than a fifth grader if you're at a university, a uni, right? I guess not. You guys want to give it a shot? Sure. Perfect. All right. And, 2 multiple choice questions. You guys want to do it together? You guys can do it as a group. The price is knowledge. That's the price. All right, so 3 box trucks. They're all completely sealed. They're all on a level surface, and they all have an apple hanging from a string. The only difference between these 3 box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
B.
B? Okay, why would you guys say B?
Because it's not motion, so the thing.
Yeah, the string's not moving, so there's no motion. That's sure. Okay, perfect. Which one's accelerating forward?
A. Oh, sorry, A. Sorry, my.
Okay, A. You guys say, okay, why A?
Because it's going forward, so it'll be staying in the same stationary.
Yes,
Sorry,
the apple's stationary, but everything else is moving. So the apple only appears to swing back. Yeah. So again, this represents the apple, obviously, because it's hanging.
Yeah.
So I go forward, it gets left behind.
Yeah. Right.
So the ball didn't hit the container, is the container hit the ball. You know, that's the reality. Okay, you guys got the first one, pretty easy. So the second one, pretty similar, but instead of an apple, is a helium balloon. So obviously the helium balloon floats. That's the difference. But out of these 3, which one is at rest?
B.
Yeah, for the same reason as the first, right? Which one's accelerating forward?
A.
A? Okay, so this is a buoyant object, right? Yes. This is also a buoyant object. So this represents the helium balloon inside the cargo van because it's buoyant, it's floating. I'll let you guys accelerate it And based on what you guys see, you guys can go back and answer the question. So
Could it also be because she won't hit the
you guys
ball?
want to accelerate it and see what the ball does? So if I go forward. So what direction, which one's accelerating forward would you say then from these three? It's not B, it's actually C. See, look, pay attention to the ball. Does it stay vertical, forward, or back?
Oh, yeah.
It goes forward, exactly. So there's two reasons why it moves forward, the helium balloon too. The first reason is air is more dense than helium, right? The second reason is a force. So as soon as you apply the force in this direction, all of the air that's inside the box truck is also being forced through space in that same direction. And because air is more dense than helium, he's able to push it along with it. So the helium balloon will always react in the same direction that the air is also being pushed. Same thing with water, you could change it, you know. The water pushes the ball because it's less dense, you know. So here, this is the true "Are you smarter than a fifth grader?" question. I recreated these experiments inside of a cargo van, and I want to see if you guys can tell what direction I accelerated, to the right or to the left.
Right.
Right, yeah, you guys got it, exactly. So obviously it looks like there's two motions in here. It looks like the apple moves in one direction and then the helium balloon moves in the opposite direction, right? It looks like there's two motions. But in reality, only one of those two objects is actually moving. So which one of these two has true motion? The helium or the apple?
Helium.
The helium balloon has true motion, exactly. So the apple only has apparent motion because it's just being left behind.
Yeah, but the
so
helium's being pushed.
Yes, the helium's being pushed because the air is being pushed and the truck's being moved as well. So everything has motion except the apple. It only has apparent motion. You know. All right, one last question. If I have helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go? Why do you guys think it goes up? There's two reasons. Why?
Less dense than air.
That's the first reason. What's the second
Okay.
reason? Would you guys agree that the air, because it's more dense, is pushing up the helium balloon? Yeah, right? Why doesn't the air push the helium to the left, to the right, or down? Why does it push it up? Why does the helium get pushed up? Why do you guys think? So in this scenario, the truck pushed the air, and then the air pushed the helium. Here on Earth, it's the Earth that's pushing up against you, and that is pushing up the air, and that's how air is able to push up the helium balloon. So the Earth is not pulling you down towards it, it's pushing up against you. So I know you guys heard of gravity being a pulling force of the Earth. The fact is, gravity as a pulling force is just a theory. So it has never been physically proven or measured. That's why it's just a theory. So the fact is the Earth is actually exerting a pushing force. That's why. So it's not pulling you down towards it, so the Earth is pushing up against you, and it's constantly pushing up, and that's what we're stuck to. So, so when you release an object into free fall, the object doesn't accelerate down to the Earth. It's the Earth that comes up to the object. So this only has apparent motion when it falls. Just like the apple being left behind. It's because the Earth, the air, and everything that's buoyant is being pushed up. And everything that's in free fall only has apparent motion. It doesn't have true motion. And that's why gravity is just a theory. So before you guys go real quick, you guys all believe the Earth is a ball, right? Yeah. Do you guys understand that on a ball, up is relative? So if you're standing here, up is this way, but if you're standing down here, up is this way, right? So if we could physically prove that gravity is not a pull of the Earth, and in fact it's actually a push of the Earth, and that's what physics shows, how can the Earth push up in every direction at the same time if it was a ball?
No idea.
So that would mean the Earth will have to be expanding, which wouldn't work, or just explode. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in gravity being a pull of the Earth, because if we could prove that it's actually a push of the Earth, and that's what physics shows, then the whole globe Earth concept falls apart. So the number one proof to debunk the globe Earth is the fact that gravity of the Earth is a push, not a pull. So the Earth is just an extended level plane, and it's pushing up in one direction. So everybody's up is the same. It's not relative. So China's not underneath your feet, it's across the way. So if I was to ask you guys respectfully, why do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
Well, what if you put something that's less than some water in water? The water also has it go up straight instead of to the right and left.
Yeah, so when you put something that's more dense in water, for example,
Yeah.
it's gonna appear to go down because it's the water that's moving up. So something that's more dense.
If it's a plane, like if I'm standing like right in the middle and then you're like standing on the other end, and then like it can't push it at the same time. Like it's not pushing it at the same time.
You're talking about in an airplane?
No, I just mean like
You're talking about the Earth itself.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
okay.
if it's a ball and you're saying it can't expand, like it's also like it's not a plane either.
Why
It's
again?
like,
Yeah.
how is it pushing like one thing and not something else?
Well, the Earth we're all standing on the ground. The ground, what I'm saying, it doesn't curve to make a ball. The ground is just an extended horizontal plane. So it's just moving up. So if you're standing here and here, I mean, it's still pushing up, you know, the same direction for both of you.
So the Earth is in constant motion upwards?
Yes, yes.
So
relative to us.
We're going up?
Yes, relative
The
to
Earth
us.
is
It's like an
going up.
elevator, exactly.
All the time it's going up?
Yes, it's constantly moving up.
So if
On
it's
your-
been moving up for billions of years, like, is there like a, you know, like a limit over there?
So I personally don't think the Earth is moving in a straight line. So we do have a high tide and a low tide. So water is perpendicular to the Earth's vertical force, but you guys believe it's a pull, but I'm showing that it's a push. So water being perpendicular to the vertical force, the oceans show that there's a tide, right? A high tide and a low tide. That's a horizontal movement of water that's happening with the oceans. In my opinion, is showing that there's a deviation in the Earth's motion as
So
well.
it's going like this?
No. It's just fixed, in my opinion, not moving a perfectly straight line. So it could be in some kind of rotational arm or something, but it's not moving straight 100%, in my opinion. So again, you could believe that too. You know, it doesn't matter whether the Earth is moving straight or not. The fact is that upwards motion debunks the globe Earth.
But why don't we observe other planets?
So other planets, anything that it shows about the sky is just conceptual. So nobody's actually been to outer space. They claim to have satellites go out there and supposedly take pictures, but all of that is just to reinforce the globe Earth model.
But if
So,
we don't have satellites, how do we have Wi-Fi?
ground towers. So over 95% of your communication here on Earth, you can look it up, is done through, the internet is just undersea cables that connect the continents. It's not satellites. So ground towers and undersea cables is what the internet is made out of.
My dad works at Boeing and he's watched a satellite launch into the sky.
Fair enough. Okay. He's seen something get shoot into the sky. I would
Yeah.
say he didn't go into...
And he has to test the parts to make sure they withstand the atmosphere and like the temperature and like the shaking
Sure.
and ever. They do all the parts and then you watch it literally leave your
Yeah, I've
sight.
seen rockets get shoot up.
Yeah.
You know what they do? They start to curve. And you know what
Okay.
happens after that?
It
They
joins
come
the
back
atmosphere.
down. Well, that's what they say. But then it goes out of view, and that's when they cut to CGI. So it's all camera trickery to trick you.
But how do you think like day and night? Like,
Well, day and night is irrelevant to the physical dimensions of the Earth. But I'll tell you what I think it could be. So the sun, they tell us, is... So the sun, they tell us, is 93 million miles away and like 500,000 miles of diameter, way bigger than the Earth.
Yeah.
The fact is the Earth is very small and very local in comparison to the Earth, and it just moves above us. So the sun cannot illuminate the entire Earth at once, and that's why we have day and night.
So,
It's the motion of the sun.
what about like the horizon and things? Like
Yeah.
things disappear. Even the sun disappears over the horizon. Like, if you
Yeah.
watch
So yeah, we do have a limit of perspective. So we do have a limit to how far we can see. At sea level is about, you can see probably 6 to 9 miles depending, because there is a visual acuity of limit of perspective. So when something appears to moves away from, it appears to get smaller and smaller until you can no longer, the resolution's not there for your eye
the
to
sun
pick
is
up.
always above.
Yes,
the
it's always
plane
above,
Of the Earth. It
always.
just moves like this.
It's just, I don't know exact motion of the sun. All I know is that it moves above us.
Then what do you think the solar system is?
So the solar system is not a solar system, it's a geocentric. So the Earth, the sun, and the moon, and the stars are all part of the Earth system. So the Earth is kind of like a terrarium.
So the pictures of other planets and stuff.
It's all made
You
up.
don't think so?
100% made
So you
up.
think the moon landing was fake?
100%. 100%. No doubt. And not even an ounce of doubt. It's like 100%. I would say 110% if I could, right? But
Right.
no, yeah, 100% that was fake. 100%. So look. You guys know the radius of the Earth? By any chance? No, not fair enough. You guys can Google it. You guys don't have to believe me. 3,959 miles is the alleged radius, and we can calculate for the circumference based on the radius by multiplying times pi, right?
Right.
So based on the numbers that they're giving us of the size of the Earth, we can go and measure to see if the curvature should be there, because there should be 8 inches per mile squared based on the dimensions, which means in the first mile there's an 8-inch curve, second mile 32 inches, and by the third mile there should be 6 feet of curvature, right? So how do we measure for that curve, right? It's very easy. So if we went out to a giant lake that was 3 miles across, for example, and we build a level structure over the body of water, the water is going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it once it's at rest, for example, at a lake, because that's what water does. It takes the shape of the container, but the surface always equalizes and forms a horizontal surface, which is level. They're trying to tell us that the surface of water is bending 8 inches per mile squared, which is a physical impossibility to do that. So they want to make you believe that if you went to a lake that was 10 miles across, that there's going to be a 66-foot deviation from the start and the end of that surface of water, of a bend, which water doesn't have the physical ability to maintain itself.
I mean, I feel like the way that you're looking at it, like, I get that you're drawing a straight line like that, but
Sure.
it's not going to get like deeper when you stand over there because it's relative to where you're standing.
It doesn't matter how deep the water is, the surface is always equalized. So what will happen if you dig a hole the water level will just drop, but it will still remain horizontal. So it doesn't matter what the terrain on the bottom looks like, the surface is always horizontal.
So these are only true if you assume that the gravity, the pull theory, is false, right?
No.
Because it would
Well,
work.
this one doesn't require a pull theory. A physical measurement of the Earth doesn't require a pull or a push. Even though that is the number one proof to debunk the globe, because the globe Earth requires you to believe a pulling force. Because without a pulling force, there is no globe. Nothing can stick to it. Nothing makes sense. No orbit. No nothing. Right. So the push of the Earth is the number one proof, but this has nothing to do with that. This is the physics of water and how water behaves here on Earth.
Okay, so when you get on a plane,
Yes.
and they want you to go this way, they just do that just to trick you, or?
So you're looking at a projection when you're in an airplane,
Yeah.
which is not real. It's a projection. You know, that little map they show you, just like Google
Yeah.
Earth, right? So the real route they're taking, not even that pilots know what route they're taking. They just follow GPS from point A to point B. You know, maybe back in the day, pilots did understand the instruments a little bit better and were able to navigate without GPS. But nowadays, every pilot, uses GPS, so they don't really think about, how they're flying.
Okay, so
pretty
what's
much.
the point of fooling the entire
Okay,
Earth?
so why would they lie, right?
Yes.
So it comes down, it's a cheap shot on our common sense. So basically, they lie to us as a very young, because if they could get you to believe that the Earth is something that it's not, then they could get you to believe in anything else. So it's about controlling you. It's about controlling the population.
I get that, but I
Yes.
feel like they don't have a reason.
It's about control. Why does anyone
I
lie?
understand, like, it's about control, but I feel like if they just logically, like, if I wanted to control you, like, I wouldn't purposely lie about something that could be proven.
Well, don't people that control the people lie to them? Like, for example, in an abusive
Yeah, they lie
relationship
Lie
or in
about
a,
what they want to control.
Yeah,
if you want to control someone, you have to lie to
but it
them.
seems kind of like unspecific. It seems like random. Like
No, it's
just
not
the
random,
shape
and I'll
of
tell you
the
why.
Earth. Okay.
The Earth, it's literally the nature of our existence, right?
Okay.
So if they could lie to you about the nature of your existence, then they're gonna be able to lie to you about your true purpose here as well.
But I've
Because if you
never,
believe the Earth is something, if you believe you evolved from monkeys and that the Earth exploded from nothing, then that's a religion.
So then what do you think our true purpose is?
I don't know our true purpose. I'm here to figure it out. All I know is that we're being lied to at a mass scale, and they're hiding our true purpose. I don't know what that is, so I'm still trying to figure it out. So I don't know if this place is heaven or hell. Either, because some people might say this is heaven, some people might say this is hell. If you look at nature, for example, like insects, even like in the oceans, how everything eats itself, it's horrific. It's like, but it is what it is though. So what kind of God would create a world like this, right? That is just full of pain and suffering and being eaten alive, stuff like that. Because that's nature. That's reality. We take ourselves out of that. I mean, we build societies, right? But the reality is that this place is pretty horrific if you look at it. And I don't know if this is actually a hell or not, But all I know is that this is a creation, 100%. The Earth is a creation, but I don't know what created it. I don't know. I don't buy into any religion, because all religions are there to just to control people. And the globe Earth is the biggest religion on Earth, because it's based on faith that can be proven. I would say atheist, right? I used to be an atheist. Ironically, that's the biggest religion on Earth. Why? Because you believe that everything came from nothing, which physics clearly shows that something can come from nothing. So physics
Big
proves.
Bang,
Yes.
It's like another.
It's a religion.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
in a way.
Even evolution. If you believe in evolution, that's a creation story. The fact is, nobody knows how this place was created, but it was created somehow. I don't
So
claim
how
to know
does
how.
this help us,
So it's basically to not only expose the system that we live, but it's also exposing that we're living a lie. So this whole government government is just another form of church. So they created government to go against church, but it's just another church. So we're all basically members of this church government. That's why we all have a social and we all have to pay our taxes. So we live in a cult. So I'm exposing this to try basically empower people so that we don't live in a cult, so that we actually live free, and not this hierarchy structure that we
do you
built.
think it's relevant if we believe the Earth is a globe or not?
Yes.
Can we just be empowered and not, say I'm not sure?
You think?
I'm empowered.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you. Okay, I'm gonna answer that very easy.
Okay.
Would you take a grown man serious like myself if I still believe in Santa Claus? No, exactly. So if you still believe in the globe Earth concept, it's no different than believing in Santa Claus. Because Santa Claus, you can fool a child because obviously it defies physics, flying reindeer, infinite gifts in a bag, right? Our whole story defies physics, but a child will believe it, right? Same thing with the globe Earth. It defies physics left, right, and center. But if grown adults are willing to believe it, that's no different than believing in Santa Claus, and I truly cannot take you serious. So you're not thinking for yourself, in
I
other
wouldn't
words.
say.
The difference is it's like it's written truth. I mean, we believe what's written, so it's not like there's written some. I mean, you're using Santa Claus as an example.
Yeah, Santa
but
Claus is a
that's-
little extreme, like to
Yeah.
compare it to something that most of the people in the entire world agree with.
Well, that's no different. If everyone believed in Santa Claus, it would be no different. Let's say they actually put it in the
But
news
the
and all
reason
that. Like,
everyone
that's the only
believes it is
difference.
Because there's, I mean, evidence and people have witnessed it, and there's multiple people. Like, I don't think there could be a lie like that where like some thousand people, everyone at NASA is just trying to convince.
Sure, I get the sense where it's not the same, because the globe Earth lie, obviously there's billions of people that believe it, opposed to the Santa Claus. There's probably not one adult that believes it, you know. But the thing is that they both claims defy physics. The Santa Claus claim defies physics, and the globe Earth claim
So
defy
is every
physics.
person that works at NASA in on the secret?
No. So only
How
astronauts.
do they get convinced if they can see the shape of the Earth outside
Oh.
their window?
Okay, you're talking about astronauts, or are you talking about?
Astronauts,
Or-
people that design them,
Okay, I'll talk about like people
like
that
the
work.
flight path.
Yeah, it's the people that work in mission control and in the
Okay.
office, for example. First thing is they sign an NDA. So even if they did know anything, they're not going to speak because they're going to lose their job. That's the first thing. Now, second, this is my opinion. I think people just believe it. I don't think they actually question it. So whatever the task they're given to do on a computer or whatever, they just believe they're actually doing that. The real people that are lying are astronauts. They're claiming to go into outer space and see the curve. They're the only ones that have to be lying. Everyone else below them obviously doesn't have to be lying. They just believe it. Because I used to believe it too.
So all the film of like them coming back and like passing out things.
Look at the moon landing press conference. So when Neil Armstrong or whatever, when they came back from the moon, look at their faces and their whole body language when they're giving out of, like when they're talking to the press. They look guilty as fuck. They look guilty as fuck. All the astronauts from 1972 when they went on the press and talked about going to the moon. Look at their faces. They look.
Okay, but I feel like that was a separate issue.
Like, I feel like this moon landing itself, like it's been argued about so much, but there has been like hundreds of other people who have gone to space. I mean, like
yeah, the
like,
moon landing. They had a reason. They had a reason. If
Yeah,
it was a
there was,
lie,
like-
there was a reason to lie.
Right.
Like
so,
for the
like
Cold
I
War or
understand
whatever.
like doubting the moon landing.
Yeah,
Sure.
but
There's
that
so much
Sure,
politics
fair enough,
involved.
fair enough.
But there are like hundreds of other people who have been to space and can like say like.
So wait, if this is your passion, why don't you become an astronaut? No, really.
Yeah, then you can like see.
Then
Yeah,
you can
I'm
see
not-
for yourself.
Nah, well, I don't need to go to space to know the Earth is not a globe. Physics shows me that. Again, water shows me that.
Okay, but
without a shadow
who
of a
created
doubt.
physics? The government, the teachers.
Physics is what it is. God. If
Why?
anything.
Why do we have to agree that physics, the fact that there's a 6 foot whatever curvature is true? Why? Who created physics? Who's the father of physics?
No, well, they're claiming that water does that. I'm showing that water doesn't do that. It's physically impossible. It's like you claiming that you can walk through walls. I'm not going to believe that. That defies physics. That's no different than claiming water bends. That defies physics too. You know what I'm saying?
I don't like. How can you? But like, how can you base yourself in physics if you don't believe the teachings of the school?
Well, the teachings in school are going against what physics shows. They're pushing theories and concepts. I'm going with natural physics, which has to do with real substance that we can
But
test.
how do you know physics is true if unless you created physics?
No, well, physics is what we can test. Put it this way: you accept cause and effect.
I accept. I mean, I would say
That's part of physics, cause and effect. That's how we build engines. That's how we have cars. That's how we have computers.
You don't need to go to space to believe. You need to like
to believe
be an
that it's
astronaut
not
to see,
if that is
like,
not flat.
But you're basing your information off like things that you can see.
Off
so,
of
like,
things
these are
you learn
Yes.
in school.
Yeah, that's based on science.
You need to like.
So
Measurable-
where does science stop being true? Where along the line? Does
When
it
they
stop
start
being
making
true?
claims that they can't demonstrate. So the claims of curvature that they can't physically show that is there, those are the claims that are defying
I feel like
physics.
there's been like explanations of that.
Yeah, I can give you an explanation how Superman can fly. I can even make equations of how Superman flies, how fast he flies, and right? But that doesn't make it real. Physics makes things real. You have to
Okay,
demonstrate
what
your
else do you think
claims.
they're lying about?
So
Just
that's
like
the
rapid
biggest.
fire.
So that's the biggest lie on earth by far,
Okay.
far. So they're lying to us about the economy as well. So the value of money, it doesn't exist. So the only reason why the dollar even has value, or even gold for that matter, is because we have faith that it does. So they tell us the value of it, and we just believe it and go along with it. So money is not even backed by gold, but gold doesn't even have value to begin with, in my opinion, either. So all of these currencies.
Yeah, I feel like that's never been like.
Well, I don't know. Even if you believe gold has value, your money's not backed by gold anymore since the 70s. So it doesn't even matter.
They assign value to gold anyways.
Yeah.
But that's like that's.
What?
It's just. It's
For
just
being, but I'm just saying that they're lying to us
It's a
about the
system,
economy.
yeah.
They're lying to us about our health, on how to take care of ourselves. I'm just saying that there's just so many lies. Just left. Do you guys believe everything the government tells you? Let me just ask you that.
No.
Not everything.
What don't you guys believe that the government tells you?
Well,
I'm gonna agree and say that the money has no actual value because we just assigned it value. But
Exactly.
that's not a lie. It's not a secret.
That's just
Most people just go along and believe that it does.
Well, then they're dumb. But like, money is to keep the system running.
Yeah.
But why do we need
created
this
something.
system?
it's just a form of trade. It's a form of like.
I would say the necessities, would you agree? The necessities of a human being here right now, food and shelter. Would you agree or disagree? Why are we taking care of those two things first before we do anything else if we're going to create a society? Why doesn't everybody have a house? There's enough land. 100%. You could.
No, yeah,
You could.
because there's money. There's money involved. They don't want to spend money.
Exactly.
But,
Because
like, everybody knows that.
that's what I'm saying. But my point is that if you're able to believe in a global concept that can be easily debunked, then you're going to buy into these other concepts of living as well. So it affects our whole lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Dude, right now, I would say we're like tax slaves. You know, because the way I see it is if you work and you make money, you should have the option to 100% where do you want to put that money. Okay, I want to put it in school because I want to send my kids to school. I want to put it in hospitals because I want healthcare, right? We don't have a choice. They take all the taxes and they put it wherever the hell they want to put it. My taxes are going to pay NASA's bills too. You really think I'm okay with that? Obviously not. So we don't live in a free society. They choose what they do with your money and they forcefully take it. So I believe that we should have a choice where you put your money. Everyone should, you know. But we don't live that, you know.
Okay,
So-
but
so-
all in all, like,
Yeah.
if you don't have an explanation for how the sun and the stars and everything besides that, besides the Earth itself works, like you said, you could go this way, you don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Why would I accept that explanation over a whole explanation that explains every part?
Right, because those explanations are not required to understand that the globe is not a globe. Those explanations are just, again, the globe Earth has all these explanations because they require those explanations to reinforce their model. Because their model has nothing physically. So that's why they talk about outer space. That's why they talk about orbits. That's why they talk about the sun and other planets, finding water in Mars and all this bullshit. Because all of those, if you're willing to believe these stories, then by default you have to believe the globe Earth. So it's just to reinforce the model, so that you don't look at actual physics that debunks the model. So again, all of these explanations, sure, I can give you 100 explanations of why the sun rotates. That doesn't prove the Earth to be a physical plane or not. What proves that? A physical measurement, a direct physical measurement of the ground, of water, in other words.
So what would you say if somebody took a tape measure all the way around and the circumference matched with the calculated radius?
So I would say obviously that's physically impossible, but nobody could do that. So here's what happened. Look, let me just show you this real quick. So I don't claim that this is what the Earth looks like, but if you were to just take a globe and open it up, you know, this is what it would look like. The center will just, the north will just be a center point, right? So if you were just to go south, a lot of people think they just come back around to the north, right? Like make a circle. The fact is, if you go south, who knows what will happen? I think you'll just hit the barrier because I think the Earth is a contained system. It's being contained physically, literally, 360 degrees.
So what about flights that go around?
So flights don't go around like that. Flights go east and west, which are just circles around a center point. That's
Like asteroids that hit us.
a lot of these asteroids or things that people record in Russia, especially. I don't know if you've seen dash camera footage from Russia. They always show like rockets. It's Russia just doing, their missile.
So there is an edge.
Not an edge, an end. Because an edge would show that there is no physical barrier and you could fall off of it. I don't think you could fall off of it. I think you'll reach the end of the Earth. It's some kind of barrier. I don't know what it looks like. So yeah, you'll reach an end.
So do you know, like, the universe, the space of the universe, do you agree with
No.
that or no?
No. So I don't know if the area outside of the Earth is infinite. I don't know. It could be. I don't know what's outside of the Earth though. But look, this is what the stars actually look like. Let me show you guys real quick, and I'm gonna compare them to what they show us. So this is what the stars actually look like when you zoom into them at night. It just looks like they're lights that change colors and they're rippling in water. So the planets are no different. This is what Mars looks like, but this is what they show us. This is a CGI image NASA shows us. To
How did
basically
you get the real photos then?
these.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a P900 camera. It has 81 optical zoom, or you could use a telescope, and you could zoom into them.
Just like a camera filter, or even then, like, let's say they wanted to control us. I feel like they would take care of all these little things, like.
Oh yeah, they're not gonna let us have a telescope that can see outer space.
No. Well, these lights are not in outer space. They're really close. They claim they're in outer space, but I shouldn't be able to zoom into them and bring them into focus if there's only 81 times zoom.
I feel like if we're being
They're
controlled
claiming-
like this, and like all these different things, I feel like the easiest thing is to like maybe restrict our internet so that you can't get your message.
Well, there's a reason why nobody has access to the super high-tech telescopes that NASA has that cost $500 million, right? So they do that. they say that, oh yeah, your cameras can see this, but our cameras see this, you know, and you can't see that because it costs $1 billion, you know, and that's how they're tricking us. So they are keeping, you know.
So are these real or fake pictures of Saturn?
These are real pictures of Saturn.
I mean, it looks kind of
it's just a light though, because you could look at an object and it's gonna look like a circle, but you can't see in 3 dimensions because you can't see the side of it or the other side to see if it's actually a sphere. You could be looking at a circle.
But he's within like his ring. And yeah, you can
sure.
He's within his ring. That's
Okay.
a circle.
Okay. Let's say it is a light with another light ring. Just because, so this image proves to you that the Earth is a globe.
Well, if that planet is a globe, I would apply that reasoning to mine. Yes.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. I would just say this is a light. You know, no different. It just looks a little different. I would say that the Saturn light we see in the sky is unique. Definitely, all the planets are unique. That's why I don't know if you guys knew the word planet comes from wandering star. So they're no different than the stars. The only difference is that they have their own unique paths in the sky. All the other stars are fixed relative to each other. They rotate together. The planets are independent. That's the only difference between the stars and the planets. And that's where the word planet comes from. It just means wandering star. But obviously, nowadays, planet means terra firma, supposedly, and other Earth-like planets. You know, that's all retarded because, again, a pulling force of gravity doesn't exist to begin with. Therefore, you can't have a globe without a pull of gravity.
I feel like they would be a little more careful.
No, they are.
I don't understand how you're getting a circle picture if it's not a sphere. Because why would it be a flat, flat circle facing you all the time, every time you check? Because a sphere is going to look like a circle from all sides.
Sure,
a flat is going to look, you're not going to see it. You're going to see it angled sometimes.
Sure. I would say that they're just above. Like, for example, the moon. We only see one side of it, right? Why don't we see the left or the right side of it? We only see the front face of it.
Because a sphere looks like a circle from all angles.
Exactly. So if you're looking at a circle in the sky, you don't know if it's a sphere or a circle. Just by looking at it. You have to physically be able to 3-dimensionally go around it okay, it is a sphere.
What about the Earth's shadow on the moon? That makes this shape.
So yeah, I've seen that. So I don't really like to get into this because, again, those are not physical measurements of the Earth. Those are just getting into, like, okay, what do you think this phenomenon is? Because that phenomenon doesn't prove whether the Earth is a globe or not, in my opinion,
but
physically. It shows a curve.
Curvature.
But if you believe that Earth has curvature, we should be able to physically measure it, right? Just like with this experiment, we'll show that there is no curvature, though. So that shadow has to be something else.
I feel like just
so there's something in our view. There's a moon, but something else is creating a shadow that we can't see.
Yes. So there is. They call it the black sun in ancient cultures. They documented a black sun, which is another third body in the sky that cannot be seen, but sometimes it passes over the moon and creates an eclipse like that.
So now we're studying cultures.
No. Well, that's what they believe. I don't know what's causing it. All I know is that 100% is not the globe. It's not the Earth's shadow. That's just retarded. You know, no offense, but that's what they claim. I don't know. My answer is I don't know. That doesn't prove either or, in my opinion. It's a red herring.
I feel like my evidence is that it disappears down the horizon, and you dispute that by saying like we can only see so far.
Yeah.
But I could say the same thing about like your straight line that sometimes it just gets a little skewed.
Yeah. Let me just show you this real quick. So this is a perspective diagram. So again, railroads, for example, we understand these railroads are parallel to each other, right? They don't actually make a V, do they? Obviously. Yeah, they're parallel, but it looks like they make a V, right? Visually, because we have spherical vision. Everything shrinks to a point. And that point is a limit of perspective, the vanishing point, right? The horizon is simply that. It's just a bunch of points that basically creates a straight line, but that's just our vanishing point of perspective.
It vanishes because it goes over the curve.
No. So here, look. For example, this arc represents our eyeball. We have spherical eyes. We have an arc. So if you're looking at an object, for example, above your head or below you, right? It doesn't matter above or below. When you start moving that object away from you at the same altitude, just move it away from you, the lines entering your eye appear to go down because it's moving further away from you. And that's how things appear to shrink, because the angle of light is getting lower. Even though the object's not physically getting lower, it only appears to get lower because it's getting further away. Same thing with boats going over the curve. They appear to get lower, that's because they're moving away from you due to perspective. Because once the boat goes over the physical curve, right, and we bring out binoculars or a powerful zoom camera, we're able to zoom that boat back into view. proving that it wasn't a physical curve that it was going down on. It was just going out of perspective. So there's a thousand, maybe not thousands, but hundreds of experiments showing that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if there was like I don't know if the 6 foot calculation is correct.
Oh, you could Google it right now.
If the boat was going and it was going lower 66666 every 10 miles, then why would you be able to zoom in?
Exactly. So if something goes around the
Light also bends.
oh, refraction now. No, but the refraction inverts the image too, though. So and that doesn't happen. It just appears to go down, and then you're able to zoom it back in. The literal boat, not an upside down image, which would be refraction or a mirage. My bad, a mirage. That's what it is.
Well, there's still at a point that you can't see it anymore. I mean, I'm even saying like you can zoom in. You're saying that we can't see so far because of the.
There's two reasons why: limited perspective and the atmosphere.
So limited perspective.
Yes.
Zooming in with the camera, like just immediately.
That increases your limit of perspective, but even cameras have limits too. That's why it's only 10 times zoom or 20 times zoom, because they reach a limit too. You know, let's say we had an infinite zoom camera, right? Hypothetically, right? You still wouldn't be able to see China from here. Why? Because the atmosphere is in the way. You're going to be seen through hundreds and hundreds of atmosphere, you know, miles of atmosphere. And eventually, you're not going to be able to see anything. You're just going to see fog, you know, because the atmosphere also prevents you from seeing forever, you know. No, again, I'm not trying.
Looks like a sphere.
Fair enough, I'll give you that, but it still doesn't prove anything about the Earth.
Also looks like.
Sure, I would admit.
And the curve on the shadow also looks like, and I wouldn't.
Okay, before you guys go, what would you leave me with? Why do you guys believe the Earth is? Give me your best globe Earth proof before you go, and then we'll call it there.
Those 3 things that I said.
Really? So Saturn, what else?
Because if I say anything else, you're gonna say it's disproof. So pictures are a no. Okay.
Well, I'm gonna tell you why pictures are a no.
Okay.
If I showed you an image or even a video of me flying, would you guys believe I could fly? Let's say I showed you a really realistic video of me flying.
No, I mean like I just want like we can't give you a point because all our points you're just saying our evidence is false.
No.
And so we're saying the same thing.
Well, I'm not asking for evidence. I'm asking for proof. Do you know the difference between evidence and no? Evidence?
I meant proof.
Okay.
If we give you proof, you're just going to say that our proof is false, and then we do the same to you. So we're not going to
No,
get to.
but what is your proof? And I'll explain to you why it's not a proof.
I mean, just like what people have told us.
Is that proof? If somebody told me something and I believe it's not.
I can observe it too.
What are you observing? Boats going over the curve?
Yeah.
But what if you bring out a zoom camera and pop their acting to view? What would you say then?
My point is different. I'm saying it's disappearing off the curve. You're saying there is no curve, so we can't like.
Well,
Okay, can you do the boat experiment and then come back?
Oh, you could look online. That's what I'm saying. There's hundreds.
Do it. 30 miles? Okay, 30 miles would be like what?
But here's the thing
We're
though.
gonna come back and
If
do
you guys
pictures.
believe that in 3 miles a boat goes down 6 feet, why are we debating whether what we're seeing? Why not just physically measure it? You know what I'm saying? Like that's why I say physics proves it. Explanations are just explanations.
But it's not going down 6 feet. Like it's not sinking 6 feet.
Well, relative to you, it should, because you're always on top of the ball.
Standing far away,
Yeah,
but
because
if
you're
I
always
go
standing on
down
top of the
low,
ball.
It's not sinking 6 feet.
Yeah.
That's because the telescope is in the same place as you.
Yes, exactly. So technically, you shouldn't be able to zoom it back into view.
Okay, so do it and come back with pictures.
No, you could look. There's hundreds of experiments that people have
But
done.
I can't believe anything. I can't believe
Fair.
anything.
And you'll believe me though? You shouldn't believe me either. You should do it yourself. How about that?
Who do we believe in?
No, do it yourself. You don't have to believe anyone.
Okay, I'll do it myself.
Yeah, exactly. So here, let me give you my channel. I go to 2 universities, USC, UCLA, and I have conversations with even professors and
Which
physics professors.
school responds the best to your?
Honestly, I like coming here the most, but UCLA is pretty packed, and I like going to UCLA just because of that. USC? Oh, UCSC. All right, we'll see. All right, take care. Thanks for the chat. Bye-bye. Oh yeah, 100%. They were like engaged, you know. I get whether good or bad. If you show interest, is it's good. You know, whether positive or negative, right? If you show interest, it's a good thing in my opinion. So
what is this about?
it is about basic physics. You guys want to give it a shot?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Basic physics. Let's start with this one. It's the first one.
Okay.
All right. So I have 3 box trucks. Oh shit. All right, give me 1 second. Let me just put more timer on my parking. And we'll get a ticket. Okay, 9 seconds. Let me just 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, bye. Yeah, bye.
Hey, it says your hemorrhoid
Shut the
All right, let me just put another hour real quick. Okay.
Physics?
Basic physics, elementary physics. All right. So, first question. I have 3 box trucks.
Okay.
They're completely sealed. They're all on a level surface, and they all have an apple hanging from a string. The only difference between these 3 box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
B.
Yeah, B. Why would you say B? Standing still, exactly. Pretty easy. Which one's accelerating forward?
Forward, it would be A.
A. How did you know A?
Because if, let's say you leave just a box in a car,
Yeah.
it's going to go backwards.
Sure, yeah, definitely. Yeah, due to inertia, it gets left behind. So again, this orange ball represents the apple because it's hanging from the top. When I accelerate this, it just gets left behind. Yeah. Exactly. All right, perfect. You guys got the first one. So yeah, there you go. All right, second one.
We're not there in college, guys.
Similar, but instead of an apple, it's a helium balloon. So out of these 3, same thing. Which one is at rest?
So
Yes, for the same reason as the first, because there's no mass not moving. Which one's accelerating forward?
I feel like it's a trick question.
Okay.
I don't
All right.
think so.
If you guys are having a little bit of doubts, I'll let you guys cheat a little bit. So this is a buoyant object, right? A helium balloon. This is also a buoyant object. So this ball inside of water represents the balloon, right? If you was to accelerate it from being at rest in any direction, what direction do you think the ball's gonna go? You could play around with it. Okay, accelerate it kind of fast.
you gotta move forward there.
Okay, based on the physics, right? Practical physics, which one's accelerating forward now?
C.
Exactly. So there's 2 reasons why it's C though. Do you know why?
I have no idea.
Is it because helium is lighter than
That's the first reason. What's the second reason?
second reason? Buoyancy?
Buoyancy is the effect.
Yeah.
So it's actually a push or a force. So you need a push to be able to move the helium. Why? Because as soon as I accelerate the truck in this direction, the truck itself is pushing the air in that same direction through space as well. And because the air is more dense than helium, it's able to push it along with it. So you need a force, you need a push as well. So that's why a buoyant object would move. Right? So, all right, so this is the true, are you smarter than a 5th grader question?
Oh, wait, so the other 2 just didn't count?
No, well, I recreated this experiment. And again, look, an apple and a helium balloon inside a cargo. So did I accelerate to the right, to the left, or is it still?
You accelerated to the right.
Exactly, yeah. Accelerated that way. Exactly. Now, it looks like the helium balloon and the apple, it looks like they both have motion. It looks like one goes in one way and one goes the other way. Yeah. But in reality, only one has true motion and the other one has apparent motion. So out of the apple and the helium, which one has true motion?
The apple.
You think the apple has true motion?
True motion, I think.
50-50.
I think the
balloon does have true motion. Yeah, why doesn't the apple have true motion? Because the apple is just being left behind.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at the truck from the outside and it had glass walls,
going the same direction
the apple's going to remain in the same position.
Exactly.
It only going to appear to swing because it got left behind. So
or the balloon's getting pushed by the air.
Yes. So the truck, the air, and the balloon have true motion, and the apple has apparent motion.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? So last question. If I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go?
Up.
Why do you guys think it goes up? There's 2 reasons as well.
Because helium is lighter than air.
Yes. And the second one? So, I'll give you a hint. Push. You need to push.
It's not the gravity. It's gravity.
No, the wind.
No, because wind will push it left or right.
Yeah, you're right.
Show me a 5th grader that knows this, bro.
No, well, it's a force.
Oh.
So it's a push. So a helium balloon obviously rises because it's less dense than air, and the air is actually pushing it up. So what's pushing up the air though to be able to push up the helium? Because in this scenario, it was the truck pushing the air, and then the air pushed the helium. What's pushing the air here up to be able to push up the helium?
Earth.
Yeah. Yeah. So the fact is, gravity is not a pull of the Earth; it's a push of the Earth. So the Earth is literally constantly pushing up against you right now, and that's why you're stuck to it. It's not pulling you down towards it. So when I release an object into free fall, everybody believes that this moves down to the Earth, but the fact is, the Earth moves up to this object, and this only falls because it only has apparent motion. So the Earth is literally pushing up, And that's why helium balloons rise, because the Earth, air, and helium have true motion. And when something's in free fall, it only has apparent motion, because the Earth is literally moving up. I don't know if you guys knew, gravity as a pulling force is just a theory. So it has never been physically proven or measured. And it's because it doesn't exist. Because the gravity is actually a push, not a pull.
Oh, okay.
So let me ask you guys this. There's a real reason why I'm doing this. Oh, here it is. You guys believe the Earth is a ball, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Do you guys understand that on a ball, up is relative? So if you're standing here, up is this way for you, but if you're standing down here, up is this way. And if you're standing here, up is that way. So in every direction away from the center is up on a ball, right? If we could prove that the Earth is not pulling you down towards it, but it's actually pushing up against you, literally moving up, how can the Earth push up in every direction if it was a ball? It can't.
It would
exactly.
just be ever expanded.
Yes, it will be ever expanding or just explode. It wouldn't work. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the theory of gravity being a pulling force. Because if we could prove that it's actually a pushing force, and buoyancy shows us that, then the whole globe Earth concept falls apart. So that will be the number one proof to debunk the globe Earth, is the fact that the Earth's force is a push, not a pull. So if I was to ask you guys respectfully, why do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
To me, photos.
Photographs?
You see photos from ISS, you see that it's circular.
Fair enough. So here I actually have some images right here. I'll just show you guys. So here they are. Yeah.
That just makes sense.
Yeah. So here, these are official NASA images. So from 2002 and 2012. And they admit that they don't take real photographs of the Earth from outer space. So these images are CGI. They're cartoons, in other words. They're not real.
Yeah.
So everything that they're showing us from outer space and about outer space is all made up. It's all just CGI. So it's just theories to back up the globe Earth theory, because physics here on Earth shows that the globe Earth is physically impossible. You know. So that will be the number one proof, again, that gravity is a push of the Earth, not a pull. So again, the Earth is just an extended level plane, and it's pushing up in one direction. So everybody's up is the same. So if you're standing here, it doesn't matter. Everybody's up is the same. It's not relative. It's not going around the ball. You know. So do you guys know the radius of the Earth that they tell us, like the distance around, or the distance from the center to the other side?
Yeah.
Right. So again, this will be the number two proof.
Okay.
The radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles, which means there should be curvature every mile.
Yeah.
So there has to be curvature, right? It should be 8 inches per mile squared based on the dimensions that they're giving us. So if we went out to a giant lake to physically measure for this curvature to see if it was actually there, and we build a level structure over a body of water that was 3 miles across, the water is going to show that it's going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it, because that's what water does. When it's contained in a lake, for example, the surface always forms a horizontal surface. That's physics of water. They're trying to tell us that water is bending 6 feet in 3 miles and 66 feet in 10 miles, which is a physical impossibility for a lake to do that. So a physical measurement of the Earth will show that it's just an extended level plane. There is no curvature, zero curvature that they're claiming. So again, the physics of water when contained at rest will show that the globe Earth is physically impossible. That will be the number two proof to debunk the globe Earth. You know? So the oceans are not bending around a ball. The term sea level comes from the oceans being horizontal. That's what sea level means. You know? So again, we've been shown images of the globe Earth, but that's the only place you're ever going to see curvature of the Earth is through CGI images like this, or you guys are familiar with the fisheye GoPro camera lens?
Oh, yeah.
So any action camera is going to have a wide angle, and what that does, it warps horizontal lines. So when someone's skydiving or they're in a high altitude, whatever, and they're using an action camera to show a curve like this, it's just a camera lens effect. The reality is the horizon is always horizontal, and that's where the word horizon comes from, in my opinion. Because the horizon is always horizontal, it doesn't bend. So the reason why we can't see forever is because we do have a limit to how far we can see. There's a limit of perspective. So a lot of people think, oh, boats go over the curves, that shows the curvature. Nope, it's just going out of your field of view. Because when you bring out a powerful zoom camera and the boat appears to go over the curve, you can zoom it back into view again. Because you're increasing your view, your limit of perspective. So that will be the number two proof, again, the physics of water. There shows there is no curvature of the Earth. You know. So other than images, is there anything else that convinces you that the Earth is a ball?
Nothing I can think from the top of my head right now.
Fair enough. So this is the biggest lie on Earth, in my opinion, and it's the most censored by far. And the reason why it's the most censored is because it's the easiest to prove. a child can debunk the globe Earth.
Yeah.
You know, if you show them the practical experiments that debunk it.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with sixth graders, and they're on video too. You can see they completely understand, you know, what's required for force and buoyancy, and you know how gravity is just a concept that doesn't exist, right? Yeah. So again, it's the biggest lie on Earth, and it's the most censored because it's the easiest to prove. You know, you guys heard of flat Earth, right?
Yeah.
So flat Earth is a psyop, and I'm gonna tell you why. So over 95% of flat Earthers are claiming the Earth is motionless. So they deny that there's an upward push to the Earth, and they also deny that there's a pull. But in reality, they believe this accelerates down to the Earth too. But they come up with their own cartoon physics to explain that. So the whole globe Earth versus flat Earth, motionless flat Earth, is just a psyop. It's a false dichotomy. So it's just there to distract people. The fact is, the Earth is a level plane because it's pushing up. It's literally moving up through space, and that's what gravity is, and that's why we're stuck to the Earth.
Where will the source of gravity be? Because we're taught that the source is at the, or that we're taught that gravity is at the center.
Yes. So the gravity is the literal motion of the Earth. That's what gravity is. So when something is moving, that has a force. So force is mass that's in motion. So something that's moving, that has a force.
That would mean that space has oxygen.
That would mean, I don't know what space is. Because in my opinion, Earth is a contained system. So they claim to go outside of the Earth system or the Earth's pressure system into outer space without a solid barrier. I say there's a solid barrier between outside of the Earth and inside of the Earth. There's a solid barrier separating the two. So them claiming to go outside of the Earth, they're claiming to go outside the reality, which I think it's physically impossible. There is an area outside of the Earth because the Earth is moving through it. Nobody's ever been outside of the Earth to know what that is.
So it's kind of like a snow globe.
It could be. That's way more possible than a globe. I don't know what the container looks like, you know, but yeah, snow globe will show. Yeah, it's some kind of container, exactly. Because we have air pressure here on Earth. 14.7 psi at sea level, and it decreases the higher you elevate it. Yeah, but that pressure shows that the air is being maintained. In order for air to have pressure, it needs to be physically contained, just like the air pressure in your tire. If there's a hole, guess what's going to happen? The air's going to... So they're claiming outer space is an open system next to the Earth's pressure, which doesn't make any sense. The air would just rush into space. So we need a solid barrier, you know, and I don't know what that barrier looks like. Maybe the governments know, I don't know. And that's why they're lying to us. So let me ask you guys this. Is it possible that we have been lied to about the shape of the Earth and basically the nature of the Earth, or are you guys 100% convinced that it is a ball?
No, I think it's possible.
It's possible, right?
Yeah, because government censorship is like a huge thing. We know that already.
There's so much censoring, so much bullshit with government, stealing, lying. You know, the dirtiest, grimiest people you ever meet are in government. The biggest leeches, the biggest parasites that you could think of, the soulless people you could think of, they're all in government. And they will not hesitate to take advantage of you. Let me just tell you that. And that's exactly what's happening.
What would be the source of this upward motion?
Oh, yeah. What's the mechanism of the Earth's motion, right? I have no clue. So some people might say, oh, they try to mock it and say, oh, you have rockets underneath the Earth pushing it up. And it's like, it could be in some kind of technology that's beyond our comprehension. You know, I think it has to do more with like, I think the Earth is moving maybe through a magnetic field. So the Earth itself, could be kind of like a magnet, and it's moving through a magnetic field. I don't know.
What about?
I don't know. I have no clue.
Like years?
So the sun and the moon are basically, when it comes to the shape of the Earth, it's a red herring argument to look at the sun and the moon because it tells us nothing about the dimensions of the Earth. But the fact is, nobody knows what they are. So they claim to know what they are. Again, it's just concepts and ideas to reinforce the globe Earth. The fact is, nobody knows what the sun actually is, how far it is, how big it is. All of that is irrelevant, and nobody knows what it is.
So the source of the upward motion is one of three things. It's either the explanation of a god pushing the Earth up, it's the flaw in your argument, or
you could take it to flyer.
We just haven't reached the scientific level to explain it.
Is this a flyer?
Yeah, it's a flyer. It's information inside. So
exactly. So it's either the explanation of God, the error in your argument, or we haven't reached the technology or the ideas to reach that point yet.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that it's definitely whatever created this place, you could call it a god, definitely put the Earth into motion, 100%. But how is he doing it? Like, what mechanism is actually pushing the Earth up? I don't know. It could be in some kind of control arm and just rotating like this, like a clock, and we're always on top of it, you know. like that. Yeah, because up to us is the direction of the Earth. You know what I'm saying? So again, I don't know the exact motion, but that's irrelevant because if we could prove that it is moving up relative to us in here, and buoyancy shows us that, and that's why helium balloons go up. You know, that wouldn't work from a globe. You know, if the Earth was moving up and objects don't get pulled down.
Yeah.
That simple fact debunks the globe Earth. You know, from the start. Yeah. So I mean, you guys have any questions for me about this subject? I mean,
No, thank you. This is supposed to learned a lot.
no, yeah, definitely, yeah. So here, I'm gonna give you guys my flyer, and I go to other universities as well, USC, UCLA, and I've gone to UC Irvine as well. I have one more, and you guys can check out some of the conversations I have there as well.
Thank you.
Pretty interesting.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, appreciate you guys. Take care.
You too.
Appreciate
Thank you.
the chat.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for the chat, man. Alrighty, I'm gonna start to pack it up because
Oh my god.
yeah.
16th president.
Let's see.
Will, who's the 16th president?
Oh man, hopefully they don't stop him right. There was two guys I wanted to stop, but kind of I was hoping they didn't. They didn't. I'm trying to call it already. I need a little bit of rest, man. Been working, and you know, it's hectic, man. Alrighty, man. I wish I could do this, you know, at least once a week consistently, you know. But it's just kind of, you know, it's hard. I'm not gonna lie. You know, when you have days off from work, coming out to do this kind of feels like work in a sense where, you know, you're still away from your family. You know, it takes time to get here. You know, it takes like 5 hours of my day. I get home, I feel tired, you know, mentally exhausted, you know, so it's like, it's not that easy, you know. I wish I could do this at least once a week, like how I used to, you know, but it's just, damn, it does takes a toll eventually, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, we'll see how it goes, man. I don't know. Again, that's the only reason why I would even consider taking donations is, you know, it'll make it easier for me to take an extra day off work, for example, and instead of working I could come and do this, you know, and that would enable me to do this more consistently, at least once a week, for example. It's sacrificing a day of work to come here instead, but then that's gonna put me back financially, and obviously that's gonna put me in a difficult position, you know, not only for me but for my family, especially if I did this 4 times a month. You know, as you can see, you know, I can add up, you know. So again, that's the only reason why I will even consider taking donations in the future, which again, I'm still gonna think about it, but it's in hopes that maybe, you know, if you guys would like to help me out, would like to push this forward to, you know, then that's one way that will be possible. Again, I'm still in the middle because at the end of the day, it shouldn't be just my responsibility, right? More people should get involved, but I get it. A lot of people are stuck in a 9 to 5. I'm lucky enough to be self-employed, so I'm able to kind of like, you know, build my own schedule in a way. So I will be able to take, you know, extra days off, obviously, if I was to get some donations. But obviously, that's another topic. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna put some stuff away. Actually, let me see if there's anything in the chat real quick. Anything that's worth answering. Alright, this is gonna be it. I'm just gonna go ahead and call it. Again, thanks for everyone that shows up, everyone that watches the videos, people that share it, you know. I really do appreciate it. Again, this being the #1 censored topic, you know, online and everywhere for that matter, you know, it is important to share this information as much as possible with your friends, with your peers, with random people, right? That's the only way it's gonna get, you know, pushed forward, you know, because it's obviously being censored. It's not being talked about. It's being ignored, right? So again, I do appreciate everyone that gets involved and shares the videos. But yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.